Hello, and welcome to Scuttlebutt, the War Movie Review Podcast. We're happy to have you with us as we take a look at films from the dawn of cinema to today. We aim to provide a raw and unapologetic review of each film's cinematography, historical accuracy, and delivery. In the process of analysis, certain details will be revealed. These spoilers are only divulged to ensure a fair assessment of each film. We head below the Mason Dixon line this week with Joel Schumachers' 2000 Vietnam War drama, Tigerland. As always, I'm joined by Mike A,
Yo, yo.
Mike B,
Yep.
and not Nate for once. So, guys, what do you think?
Oh, my God. I have to say, I've seen this movie multiple times, but I am really curious to know what Mr. Freaking Birch thinks about this movie.
Right. Okay. Well, so I saw it probably about a decade ago, right? Years ago. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Before I really got into the nitty gritty shit. This time I watched it and I was like, huh, that's interesting. Okay. So I actually wrote down notes for this one. It's not egregiously shitty. It's not like that bad. It's not like Midway where I had to write down notes and everything. But I still wrote down notes because there are some things that need to be addressed that are just whatever. Overall, the plot, okay, I get it. The kind of main storyline, probably a little bit more fantasy than real, with the main character doing what he does. We'll get into that and everything. But kind of that whole thing, and it's just kind of weird. And it was also made in 2000, where there was a shitload of Vietnam War movies where you see a lot of callbacks to those movies in this, little touches and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And it's cool because it gives a perspective on the Vietnam War, especially late Vietnam War. So 71.
That's one of the things I like the most about
Right.
it. Yeah.
So it does.
It's not like 1967.
Right. And then you've got a lot of opportunities to play with a lot of the characters that have been there, which we'll talk about. But so 71, the Vietnam War is wrapping up. 73, basically all U.S. troops, except for quote unquote essential troops or some shit, are pulled out of Vietnam, all combat troops, but there were still troops there. Ends in 75. So this is very late war as far as combat action is concerned with the army and everything. So that's pretty cool that it actually takes place in 71 and not 68, 69. Tigerland, real place. A Vietnam veteran that I knew personally. He's died since then. He actually did his basic training, or I'm sorry, his AIT. He was not infantry. He was aviation. What the fuck is it called? Aviation something. He was in the 1st Aviation Brigade. He ended up being a crew chief on a UH-1 in Long Bin in 68, blah, blah. But he actually went through Fort Polk, and he was telling me about this when I was younger, and he said, yeah, we call it Little Vietnam because it's got a lot of the same weather and terrain as Vietnam does. And he's like, then when we got to Vietnam, we were like, oh, yeah, it's a lot hotter in Vietnam, but the terrain is pretty fucking similar in the climate. So Fort Polk, which still exists and is still a training facility. So my friend said, yeah, this is a real place. He went there. He trained there. Obviously, he's dead now, so I can't ask him what exactly he did there. But it's a real place, and it's pretty cool that somebody took the time to do that much research on a training facility during a war, and tried to do research. Because there was a lot of things that they got right, and we'll get into that shit too. This is just my opening remarks. So, Brian.
So, yeah, I had heard about this film a lot. I had yet to see it until, yesterday. And it's interesting. I feel like the hype is way more than the film. I mean, as I was watching it, I really felt like I was watching a really, really watered down version of Jarhead. I felt like, because this falls into the mantra of training films. And it's funny how in the late 90s, you had a lot of training films that came out. The one closest to this I could think of is Buffalo Soldiers. Have you guys seen that?
Nope.
I have not.
So that's actually a really good film, but it's about got GIs in Germany in the 90s, after the Cold War. And what do? You try not to get a DUI and you do heroin. It talks about.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one where they get the tank and they drive it through the.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
I've seen clips. Good. I've seen clips. So we'll have to watch that someday.
I think we'll definitely do that. Yeah, because I have a friend that was in the army in the 90s. In Germany, he's like, yeah, That's what it was like before Bosnia. You know, I was like, what?
Whoops.
But so no, it's interesting to have like all these training films that came out and stuff, and I feel like that's definitely in the vein of that. And it's like just watching this to me was like somebody wanted to make a movie about the Vietnam War, but they didn't want to make a movie about the Vietnam War. You know, it's like they got a close enough subject to it, but they didn't actually do it. So in that context, it's very interesting. But it really reminded me of like, you know, Stripes, Buffalo Soldiers, Full Metal Jacket, Top Gun, A Few Good Men. All these training films kind of like fall into the same kind of, even like G.I. Jane. It's like, you know, super aggressive, like, you know, people in charge. And then you get the people that like try to not deal with the system, deal with the, I mean, to me, it was just like a very generic training film. But it's very interesting that they do set it during Vietnam in this era. And it's also really cool they said it during 71. I really want to make a movie about Vietnam, like 70, 71, Parrots Peak, that kind of stuff, because there's two real Vietnam wars. And in my opinion, the line starts in mid-69. There's the Green Fatigue, Daddy was in Vietnam, and Hue, and Tet, and Iron Triangle, you know, 65 to 69. Or Daddy was in Vietnam with, you know, camo fatigues, writing fuck the Air Force or fuck the Army everywhere and hating the existence and wanting to get out and doing drugs. You know, you get the early part of the war and the late part of the war. 99% of people don't talk about the late part of the war, but they use the culture of the late part of the war and they put it in the early part of the war, and they're like, this is Vietnam.
Yep.
You know? So there's two very different Vietnams, in my opinion. And even like reenacting the Vietnam War, nobody does post 69. It's all the classic green jungle fatigues, you know, fighting Hue, all that bullshit. But so it was really cool to see a movie based in the 70s about the war and to have all that dredging and shit come up, because, you know, the last guys that were killed in combat was the DAF at Bien Ho. No, not Bien Ho. What was the air field for
Ton
Saigon? But Ton Son, yeah. Yep. 2 Marines got killed by a rocket barrage fucking like the day before. This is 4 years before that. And they're already talking about the war ending. So it was very interesting, you know, and being over. But so that being said, yeah, it just really follows like just like the mantra of just training films to me. And there were some good scenes, but again, I felt like you really fell for some of that. And we'll get into it and stuff. But looking at everything from the era and stuff, it's like, if you're going to talk about like this and being in the military and being shit on and having horrible situations, I really feel like Jarhead did what this was trying to do a little better. But what do you think, Michael?
I like this movie more than you guys. I think this movie's actually really good. Now, it's one of those movies though that when I watch it, I really appreciate a lot of the things that's going on with the writing and stuff like that. But like, it's one of those movies to where it's like, I could see this being a movie to where everything technical is completely fucked. Like, I mean, I don't really know a lot about that stuff when it comes to it.
Not everything. Spoiler alert. Not everything.
Okay.
So,
okay.
You're good.
Because
you're good.
I've often wondered that with this movie. It's like this movie I could see this being a movie to where it's like everything technical is fucked. But I'm glad to hear that it isn't. But I actually quite like this movie. Like I say, quite a bit. I always felt it was the like antithesis of Full Metal Jacket. I thought Full Metal Jacket, like, I think Kubrick really failed with Full Metal Jacket. I think he was trying to do some anti-war thing. However, people love that movie and they love like Arlie Ermy. They love all of the stuff, you know, with the training and everything like that. They praise that stuff. This movie, it's very uncomfortable. It doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel, you don't laugh at the things that the drill instructors are saying. And it's very not entertaining, whereas Arlie Ermy is like, you know, entertaining. I can see people having a problem with some of the stuff in it with the characters and the way things are done, but I actually think it's pretty damn good and pretty unique. Like I say, this is one of the only Vietnam War films I've seen where it's like not, you know, 1967. We're getting ready to get on, you know, to go to war or something like that. It's like, no, it's everyone knows it's a fucking shit fest at this point, which I really like about it. So yeah, I dig this movie quite a bit.
Yeah, and if we want to jump right in about the technicals and stuff, the only thing that I saw was wrong was the boots. Because there's one scene where like he puts his boots up and it's the post-war V-soled that are incredibly hard to find, by the way, now because of hikers and stuff destroying them in the 90s. But yeah, that was the only thing that I saw that was like, okay, I know the V-soles weren't there, but everything else, I mean, it looked good. Some of the Satines had zippers and stuff, which I know that was not really a thing.
I'll bring up the first technical major fuck up is they were using like 80s steel pots because they had the Panama era chin straps on.
Oh, that's right.
All of
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
And so that's a very technical thing. And in 2000, you could still find those chin straps and those steel pots with the Vietnam era chin straps on them. Dirt cheap.
Knowing about it, yeah.
Dirt cheap.
Yeah.
You know, they were everywhere.
I was buying shells like that for $20 in like 07, 08. So
right.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's like that to me is inexcusable. That was just the advisor or whatever, or the costume designer just not giving a shit. They had pretty much everything else was okay. But it's like that. And like, it's not just one or two guys had it. It's everybody had them. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
they ordered from the wrong people.
Yeah. And they just didn't catch that, whatever. So that's a very technical thing, but, yeah, it's a lot of the shit was also very, kind of, I don't want to say cliche. It wasn't cliche. It was because, okay. So we'll just go to my second note. So when they're actually doing some training with the sergeant who is I forgot the actor's name. He's Van Alden. He's a fucking really prominent actor. He's Van Alden in Boardwalk Empire.
I'll say this while we're here.
They're talking about the radio part.
Yes. Okay. So what, Brian?
I'll say this while we're right here. So well cast. So many fucking insane stars are in this. I was shocked by that.
Yeah, we'll get to that too.
Amazing.
Yeah. The acting, I actually didn't have a problem with the acting at all. So, what's his name, Mike? But you know who I'm talking about?
Jesus Christ, I'm trying to think.
If
Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So him, when he's at that scene and he's teaching these guys about how to torture people and like how to do that shit. I'm sorry, you're not going to learn that in fucking basic or AIT.
That's something that they do overseas. Yeah.
If
totally
if
happened,
they do it.
But yeah.
But they're not gonna be wasting that time on privates and infantry fucking AIT. They're not gonna be.
I'll defend it because I think that guy was like a sadistic fuck. I think that was like the point. He was like, I'm gonna show these guys something, like something, extra. Like I think that was kind of the point of that whole thing. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not even at that point in 71. You got a lot of people that were in Vietnam. He's got a 9th Infantry Division combat patch on, and all that stuff. But like, I just don't think that's realistic. But anyway, that's my opinion. Maybe it happened. Maybe it.
Right. I mean, you never know. Nothing is absolute.
But it's just that seemed to me more of that it was written in to like kind of illustrate how fucked up things got in Vietnam, and that that whole that whole tying fucking nodes to people's nuts and everything. I mean, how often that really happened?
I know it happened because I know guys that talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. They talk about it, but
I
how
know
much
one
did it
guy
actually
that
happen?
Oh, incredibly rarely. But I've even heard about that during the Second World War as a thing. That, you want even the Germans, like, you want to fucking interrogate somebody? It's a really quick way just to have a spark. I mean, but yeah, I don't think it will feel like it'd be wasted.
Although here's the thing. Can I ask you guys about this?
Yeah.
Now, was that a radio or a field phone that they were using?
Field phone.
Okay, yeah. I was like, now, does it matter if it's either or? Does it work with both or like?
It won't work with a radio because you can't charge a radio.
Radios run with batteries.
You can only talk to radio.
Yeah.
But on one of the field phones, you disconnect the leads.
You can charge it up. You can get the charge.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. But
that's how the bell, because when you crank it, that's how the bell rings on the other end because you're making a charge.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that. I just
Yeah. So that's why it was kind of weird.
And they fucking hurt. Because, like, if you fuck up connecting it, you get jolted too. Oh, that's actually no joke, that part of it. Like, that fucking hurts.
That's why you're defending this, because you've actually experimented with this, Had a little bit of drinks,
CBT.
Saw a couple things, and just, let's see how bad this really hurts. Crank her up, bud.
Hey, I know a guy, long story short, that tempted somebody that was really waterboarded people. He got drunk. He's like, I can get waterboarded. And he's like, no, you won't. And anyway, he lasted about half of a second. So, yeah.
Waterboarding? No way. Yeah. No.
Yeah. He's like, I can make it longer than KSM. He's like, no, you can't.
No, you can't.
And he didn't. So, like.
No.
But I know I can take that as a valid criticism. I accept that scene because I think with that character, it's supposed to, because like, not only is he like kind of like enjoying telling these guys about this, then he like kind of does it to one of them. Like, and then he's kind of like, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Well, he says didn't even touch you. He just freaked him out.
Right, yeah.
But and so
no, he's like, man, what a fucking asshole.
Well, but here's the thing with that. So I will comment on this whole thing because I can relate to it, and I'll explain this. Having being in 71 is like me being in like 08 and 09, right? It's coming to an end, but the guys who are training you have been there and they've already done that. They've got 2 and 3 and some of them 4 tours underneath their belt. They're fucked up. They've got problems themselves. Big problems, right? And it's really fucking scary to be on these guys when you do something that triggers them that they saw and they just fucking go off on you. And you don't know why. You're like, well, this isn't normal, but like they're just fucking going off. And they actually, this is what started in Vietnam, by the way. The modern, like what I went through as in 2008 was the very tail end of like the Vietnam era. We have draftees. We have people that don't want to be here. We're going to fucking scream at them. We will beat you into fucking submission. They didn't beat us,
Right.
but they still, the absolute like psychotic screaming, the mental torture, the lack of sleep, this and that, and all this other shit. That was a runoff from Vietnam because these guys would come back and they'd become drill sergeants or drill instructors, and they would get so fucking pissed off because they would see things that got, their buddies got killed, and they'd be like, fuck, they did this, and then they would just go off. And like it's a psychological. If anybody wants to study this psychologically, if you're going to school for psychology, which you definitely shouldn't, because it's a fucking generic degree and won't get you that far. Anyway, but if you really want to get into the psychology of like how training changed from like World War I to World War II to Korea and Vietnam is where it got really fucking aggressive, really aggressive. And you got these guys that, and that's what I'm saying is they portrayed this, I think, pretty well from the stories I've been told, and all that stuff.
Breaking news.
What's up, dude?
Hurt Locker is lower than Hyena Road. That's all I have to say. I'm also running.
We're doing a fucking podcast right now.
I'm on zero sleep. Okay, don't. My judgment call is not very good right now.
We were literally just talking about psychotic fucking instructors and like why they're psychotic.
Where's Johnny?
Here's Nathan. That's
Nathan.
literally what I'm at right now. So,
You're looking like Jack Nicholson right now. Jesus.
Yeah. I thought I'd jump in real quick and just announce that her locker is lower than Hyena Road and my world is over. So I'm just gonna, go edit more. So.
And on that bombshell.
Sorry to derail you, but yeah, I just wanted to jump in.
No, it's all right. It's not derail because you're proving my point exactly. Like,
Speaking of deranged assholes. Oh wait, the guy from Maryland shows up.
I am also recording, so this will all be in here, so it's fine.
Oh great.
Oh, perfect. So. I was gonna say there's no Oklahoma.
No. This is fucking staying in.
Not when he's the editor.
Mike, look at me. I'm the captain now. Okay.
Look at me.
Look at me.
I'm the captain now.
Look at me. I am the captain.
Sure.
This is me right now.
Okay. So Hurt Locker's got less than Hyena Road. Okay.
Yeah, and not even giving Hurt Locker a 5 pulled it out of that. It was a 3. It was a 2 point. Fuck. What was it? It's like a 2.4.
6 or something like that.
And Hyena Road was a 2.65. Or something close to that. I was listening to that because I've been having to do anything just to keep myself sane, and I was re-listening to everything, and I went, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I'm like, so I've derailed it properly right now. So how's the movie?
We're discussing it. Yeah, it's
Tigerland.
Good,
I like
bad.
it way better than these fuckers.
Really? I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why
I like it too.
I did watch it, but I mean, like, anyway. All right, I'll get the fuck out of here. I've derailed you long enough. Sorry.
You're good, man. You're good.
Go back in your cave.
I mean, if you want to take a break for
Get the
like
fuck
10
back
minutes,
in the hole. Get the fuck back in the hole, editor. Go. Fucking go.
No, so we can do 10 minutes if you want to just take a little break from what you're doing. And I was talking about the fact that there's things that I didn't like, but one of the things I did like was the fact that this takes place in 71. So all the drills. Well, okay, I don't understand why they weren't drill sergeants, because the drill sergeant badge was instated in 1958. The pumpkin, like the little thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of them are wearing jungle expert badges, which is fine. I guess you could choose, but if you're on drill sergeant duty, I think you would.
That was a Recondo school, right? Jungle expert, or is it different?
Jungle expert school is different. Yeah. Recondo School is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought Jungle School came out of Recondo School.
I think it did,
mistaken.
but like I don't know the details on that. But like it's a different thing. I know that. Like there's a different patch and like whatever. But so anyway,
the triangle.
They always call these guys sergeant, and like drill sergeant was a title from like 1958 onwards for the Army. But anyway, that's a little detail that I didn't quite understand why they didn't do that. But Nate, what I was saying is like the drill sergeants, I'll just call them that because that's what they were these guys that they're at combat patches. A lot of them have combat infantry badges. They're teaching infantry guys at AIT, and they've been there and done that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fucking insane. Like some of them are losing their fucking minds on the privates for little things, and they're just fucking taking out their own shit on these privates. And we had similar shit go on when I went in 2008 because these guys have been to Iraq and Afghanistan for the past 7 years. And they did the same kind of shit. I witnessed it. Like it was insane where it's like, well, I don't think they deserve to get lit up that much, or we didn't deserve to get lit up that much, but it's psychotic because they're dealing with their own shit. And that does come out in the film, like in Tigerland. It does come out where they're just like freaking the fuck out. Certain ones, not all of them, but they're just like really angry.
The main bald one. Yes.
Yeah, the guy with the 5th Infantry Division patch, which that was a really good touch that I like because I've never seen that in a film before. Nobody knows that fucking unit exists or was in Vietnam, and they were up on the fucking DMZ to replace Marines who got their asses stomped, and they were up there for a year and a half or 2 years. And the 5th Infantry Division saw some major shit, and he had that patch on as his combat patch, and I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. So somebody did research, and he was the most psychotic one, and the rest of them were just kind of assholes. And then you get to the end, and that guy, I forgot his name, Coda. Yep, that was his name, Cotta.
He was the best one.
Well, yeah, he was more realistic to a lot of the guys, a lot of the cadre that weren't drill sergeants when I was in basic and AIT, where they're just like very serious and fucking stern, and they've been there and done that, but they weren't screaming because they're not a drill sergeant, and he wasn't apparently a drill sergeant. And so that was pretty cool too, that you could tell he was like, but he was also better at explaining shit to the privates. You know, like he was better at going, oh, okay, I know what kind of guy you are because I was just with guys like you. So
well, he was out of all of the drill instruction, because there's a number of different ones in it. Like I thought he was a great counter to the other ones. I love how like everyone like. The character Boz, Colin Farrell, he is just such a fucking like thorn in everyone's side. All of the staff sergeants or whatever, and the captains and shit. And then he's always giving them shit, and he's just being a fucking pain. And then finally, when they're out there with that guy, he says,
listens.
He's like, oh, what's that?
He listens because
right, yeah. Well, he says like. He comes up at one point. He's like smoking a cigarette, and he's like, "You guys are fucking dead, you fucking idiots! Like, it's in the middle of the night. You fucking lit up a cigarette." And he's like, "Now you're all dead." Then he Boz comes in with his shit. Well, I'm still alive, Sergeant. And he's like, "If you're gonna make up a story, maybe make it a happy one." He goes, "I ain't making anything up," And like he actually like gives him some real shit to where it's like he doesn't have anything to say about that, about how his friend was killed and everything like that because of the same thing. I love that part.
Yeah. It was not terrible. The psychoticness and the dynamics of the drill sergeants and the cadre were not bad in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but yeah, oh my god, that the bald guy, so it makes you want like if he is just like you're saying though, that kind of like been there and now he's fucked up, or if he's just like a super psychotic sadistic fuck, because you get that a lot.
Yeah, you don't know
with that guy.
But like,
right, yeah.
But it's a lot of guys that I witnessed that had been there and done that. They didn't go that far because they couldn't, because they would get in trouble. But right. I've heard
back then they probably
back then it was a different story, and it's like it's just fucked up. But yeah. So that's a part that I found okay. I didn't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting how like all the instructors and stuff were vets, and I did a little bit of research into it, and I found one guy's story. He went through it in '67, and he was saying that there was these guys that were were in the VC camp that were like the most sadistic fucks you can ever imagine, and like they would target these guys like and break ankles and stuff, so they would recycle and things, and it got so bad that apparently by the late '60s they actually removed that portion of the training. So that VC Village and stuff was not a thing. Which I thought was interesting. It literally was because they were just fucking up too many people. So,
Nate, you want to throw some thoughts in?
Fuck no.
No?
Fuck no.
You're just listening for this one.
I got nothing to say other than the fact that I liked the movie 10, 15 years ago, and I watched it again and I liked it, but that's literally all my brain can do right now. So I'll 100% just say, no, I got nothing to say other than I like it, because I should fuck off now and I should go continue to go work, because I can't do editing. I can't do audio work while listening to you fucking schmucks. So,
Oh my God.
So I'll get the fuck out of here. But I
Go
just
find a
wanted to say-
fucking 8-ball, dude. Go find an 8-ball.
get out of here, you fucking southerner. You know, it's better here without your plantations and.
Well, now you know.
bullshit
My
you're
goal is to derail the podcast, and so I did it effectively. So.
You derailed your own podcast.
Wait a minute.
Good work.
Wait a minute. Oh, okay. You just got up to put your headphones back in. You didn't just plug in your headphones, did you?
I got up to grab this.
Okay. I was about to say, if you just put in your fucking headphones, I'm gonna.
No,
He's had
they've
him
been
in.
in the
We're
whole
good.
time.
Salty.
You're good.
Okay, I've derailed enough. See you fucks later. I'll get
All right.
See ya.
See ya.
And mysteriously as he appeared, he disappeared.
All right. So
He's gone.
we actually got some of my bullet points knocked out in that whole conversation about the guy from the drill sergeant that's wearing the 5th Infantry combat patch, beating that guy and like making him eat dirt and all that shit and just going fucking psychotic. So I definitely have heard of that, and so
Even the captains and the other sergeants are like having to tell him to stop sometimes.
yeah. What's
like,
funny
there's
is like in a training environment, well, in a usual environment, the officers are not going to be enacting discipline directly.
Right.
They're gonna talk to their NCOs and all that shit. But yeah, if they say get the fuck off, like that's enough. Yeah, you're done. So and then with the scene of the guy zapping, so was it Michael Shannon?
Yeah.
He was wearing sergeant chevrons on his collar, right? The subdued ones, which came out in like 66, and they started wearing them in like 68 hardcore. He's not gonna be wearing subdued collar chevrons and collared shoulder chevrons on his fucking Satines. It's not gonna happen. So just another little technical thing. But like yeah, other than that, it's I've only got a couple more notes, but if you ever ask an NCO, especially in basic training or AIT, why, you're fucked. And
what
it was
moment are you referring to?
it's they're in their barracks, and the black drill sergeant, the big guy, I forgot his name, he's telling him to do something, or he's telling him to arrest the guy, right?
Yep.
And then he goes, Colin goes, why? That's like grounds at that point to get fucking your shit just fucking rocked in. You ask why in the military, especially in combat arms, you're fucked. Like, don't do that. And that wouldn't fly, but then it was like a discussion, and I'm like, okay, I get it. So, and then we'll move on to the next.
It's just every scene is like, you know, there's no scene in this movie really where like it feels like they're coming together as a unit. It's very it's very awkward and uncomfortable the whole way through, which
and that's still true to this
it.
day. It's like, it's like there's a lot of units that just never fucking did it. We ended up, like, my unit ended up getting along at the end, or not getting along, but like working together at the end, because we got sick of getting fucked up for not working together. But the other some units, I've heard people that have been through basic AIT, and they're like, it was just a shit show the whole way through. Like, nobody got along, nobody worked together. It was fucking terrible. So that is pretty realistic as well. So
it was very there's this like, well, and it goes with the theme of the Vietnam War. There's this theme of just all is lost, you know, throughout the whole thing, is that these guys are never gonna like become a great unit or anything, and you know, it's they're not gonna become band of brothers, you know. And I love that feel about the whole thing. I love how cynical it is, you know, and just one scene that I am curious about in terms of like how they used to do things back then. They're doing I I know there's a name for it, but they're crawling and they're shooting an M60 like
Yeah,
over their
the
heads.
live fire. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so would they actually do that?
Yeah.
Because I've heard conflicting things on.
Yeah,
that.
they did.
Okay.
They did that up until the 90s, actually, from what I've heard. Well, even some early 2000s guys, like early GWAT guys, said that they did that with like 60s or 240s. We didn't do that because it's just, you lose a lot of guys and it's very, very fucking dangerous and very expensive. And it's to give you like the feeling of being in combat and shit going over your head, which it does, but like, dude, even if you're shooting across and you hit a rock or something and something ricochets back, it can hit somebody. And then you just wasted all that fucking time and money on a trainee. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, back then, they did that shit.
I had a buddy who was a reenactor before he went into the army. It was 89 he went in, and he was a reenactor. And in reenacting, they have people that don't want to have real machine guns or can't afford real machine guns. They make fake ones, and they're called gas guns. And they use propane and a spark, and they simulate kind of a machine gun. Usually not well. Very rarely do they sound like what they're trying to replicate. But anyway, he was a reenactor for a few years, and he goes into basic training, and he's in basic, and they're doing that thing. And he's like, wait a minute, those aren't real. Those are fucking gas guns.
Right.
So in his experience, when he did it, they were shooting these gas guns at the guys as they were going under. And everybody was afraid, like, oh my God, they're really shooting at us. And it was all simulation. But he was just like, that's a fucking propane gun. Like, that's fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry used that back in 14-town Gap. Like, so that was the funny thing for him. And that was in 89.
Yeah, and they could have been gas guns all along. And it's like, again, you're getting the guy's perspective.
No, they used, they definitely used real ammo, at least Vietnam, World War II. But yeah, I don't know what changed, but it's funny how, like, it was definitely a practice, and it tapered off from the Cold War at some point, or right after.
Yeah, I don't know when either. But
yeah, it's like you said, it's super expensive. All that brass, looking, it's not 1942 anymore. Like Lake City's not pumping out shit for fun.
Right.
So,
right. So,
but yeah, it's interesting. Training is the same, but it's different. I mean, I feel like back then, you could get a lot more physical with people. And we touched on that with like Devin and stuff and the different cultures in the armies when we talked about Canadian Army versus American Army and things. But no, the training was good. And I thought it was funny where like he was shooting, I forget the name of his character, Colin Farrell.
Boz.
Yeah, they're fucking Boz. And he's shooting and he's missing all the rounds. And they're like, oh, you kidded shit. And he's like, oh, we're shooting to kill. And he fucking five bullseye.
Right in the bullseye, yeah.
So, yeah.
He says, I do believe killing, pleases you, Sergeant. Yeah.
Now, I think they would have had butts though, probably, and they would have had like an actual shooting range. I don't think it would have been like that when they walk into the targets, but I'm not sure. Butts are this whole thing where like there's a range and the targets go up and down.
No, so that's a so I don't know when they changed the targets up, but like it's a 25-yard zeroing range is what I thought they were on, right? Because, yeah, you do 25 or 25 meters or yards. I don't know what the fuck it is. It's 25 something because I did that. And the targets are a lot smaller. They're not like the big long range qual targets. So they might have gotten that part wrong. Again, I don't know enough about it to like be definitive. But no, if you're on a range and you're zeroing, you're at 25 yards or meters. Or I know somebody listening is going to be like, that's fucking yards or it's fucking meters. I close enough at that close of a distance. But no, that's when you zero your sights and then you go out and you do the crazy Ivans, we call them. And, but no, so that's not unrealistic to like be shooting a target that close, but not for qualification. So.
Yeah. I just meant the system. Because I again, I have not been through any AIT or basic. Did you go through AIT, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had a buddy. I think he went through it at Polk too. But
no, ours was called OSIT, one station unit training. So you go through basic training, and then you get like a 36-hour break in between, and then you go to your AIT, which is with your same drill sergeants in the same barracks, your same bed and everything. And ours was 16 weeks, so it's as long as theirs was, except they got breaks and they got leave in AIT, or like weekend passes and shit. We didn't. It was like we had 10 weeks because they extended basic from 9 weeks to 10 weeks while we were down there. Fun little present. And and then it was 6 weeks for infantry AIT, but it's all with the same. We didn't go anywhere else. That's why they did it at Benning. So in Vietnam though, during Vietnam they had so many fucking people going through that they had basic at one place and AIT at the other, blah, 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 8 weeks of basic and then 8 weeks of AIT for infantry. And they would send them different places, and then they established that, well, we can do this at one place for infantry. You know, we can do this at one place for combat engineers. We can do this at one place for, you know, armored crewmen, you know, like all that shit. And so that's where OSIT came from. But yeah, it's like back then they would send them to like weird places for their AIT, and they made them a separate thing, but it, oh, wait a second. That's probably why they were sergeants and not drill sergeants. I'm just thinking, yeah. Okay.
Because it's an extended course.
It's your AIT, and they separated it a lot more than nowadays. Okay. No. Okay. So that, I know people that would probably listen to me at the beginning were probably like screeching what I'm just saying. That's probably why all of them were sergeants and not drill sergeants. Because they're teaching like fucking, if you go to comm school, right? You've got sergeants teaching. You don't have fucking drill sergeants. Okay. Yep. Okay. Never mind. Yeah, that makes sense. So that's why they're wearing the helmets and not the brown rounds. Okay. Or the campaign covers, sorry. Campaign hats. Yep. That makes a lot more sense because they're wearing the helmet liners. And also, they got this detail really cool is the 4th Army was designated with training troops, specifically at Fort Polk during the Vietnam time period, right? From the 60s to the 70s. And so that 4-leaf clover thing you see on their helmet and they're wearing there on the unit patch, that's accurate because that's the unit that they would have been assigned to train these guys. So that's actually a really good detail they got right. And then on the you see on the left side of their helmet liners, like the sergeants, they have infantry, or I thought I saw one cross saber, so that's cavalry, but like still it's pretty similar. To denote like their branch or whatever and how they're training. So yeah.
Okay.
I hadn't even thought of that.
I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that, how none of them are wearing like DI hats and stuff like that. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, well, I hadn't either. I was like, why aren't they wearing the pumpkin patch? Like that's it's called, like the drill sergeant patch. It's like, well, they're not drill sergeants, they're just training sergeants. And that's why. So that makes a lot of sense now. Yep. So I retract my statement that I said earlier about I didn't understand why they weren't drill sergeants, because now I kind of get it. Because it was separate. Right. See, ours, again, and shortly after the Vietnam War, this is like in the 80s, the early 80s, they would do the OSIT thing and you go through with your same drill sergeants the whole fucking cycle if you were doing like infantry, combat engineers or something like that. And so they would be drill sergeants the whole way through. But yeah, back then, and even nowadays, like if you're not a OSIT person, yeah. Okay, cool. Anyway, I'll stop spinning the wheels on that one.
That's cool though. I love the technical shit like that. I'm very much a novice when it comes to this era, but very cool.
That's a weird one.
Early 70s Vietnam is Vietnam War is very.
Well, because it's so close to modern day, like it still really is, and a lot.
It's like a mesh between World War II and the modern.
And it influenced so much shit from nowadays, and now we're getting into another phase where it's like that shit's kind of going away.
Yeah.
With caseless ammunition and everything, it's going to be very interesting to see where the military's going.
Well, and like here's the thing: is like we were told too, and I agree with this: is we're always training for the last war. And our last big one was Vietnam. You know, and
I'd say now our last big one was Chihuahua. It's 20 years.
Sure, that's what I mean. So, but when I was going through our last big one, like to catch up with all the tactics, the technology and shit, was Vietnam. And we were learning, when I was in, we were learning Vietnam shit, how to fight out in the jungle and fight out in the woods and survive, with the modern, like how to spot an IED, how to be on a foot patrol, how to be on a mechanized patrol and all that shit, and spot IEDs and react to an IED, blah, blah, blah. It was a combination of both. And I think now you're right. I think we've kind of like, they still teach people how to like survive in the woods and shit, and do land navigation and blah, blah, blah. But it's, we're getting more towards GWAT's kind of going to be the standard.
There was a funny joke I saw earlier this year, because everything going on in Ukraine and things. And they're like, they're painting the Humvees green. Fuck. You know, like, we're changing conflicts, you know, we're looking into new territories. But it's interesting, you know, you have this big cultural shift after a big event like this, and especially an event where there's no outcome really. It's just, it happened, you know, and so I really think that's a very good parallel, you know, 1970s U.S. Army to mid 2020s U.S. Army.
Well, specifically early 70s, because the late 70s was a different army too. They had a lot of
bad.
shit going on where their recruitment and retention rates were fucking dismal, right? Because the draft was over. People just didn't want to fucking be in because of the war and everything. And it was also still the same guys that were in Vietnam trying to train like that. And then they kind of, it was just weird. But like the early 70s, the war is still raging. It's still going on. Mm-hmm. You know, in 71, the war was still pretty hot and heavy in Vietnam. It was pretty much there.
Yep. But you're right, though. You do have the same cadre in the late 70s that you have, like, in this film.
Yep.
You know, Vietnam War vets and everything, a little higher rank up, you know, E8s and 7s and shit. But, like, but you still have, worse cadets. You know, it's like, so it's similar in a way, but it's totally different in a way, you know? Mm-hmm. And just to read, I knew a guy, life for 20 years. He went to reconnaissance school, finally gets to Vietnam. I forget what group he was in. First mission out, they're walking like 10 feet. He slips down a ravine, breaks his pelvis. That was his Vietnam.
Fuck.
He comes home, and so but he stayed in the Army, you know, away it goes. And he tells the story. He was at Wainwright in Alaska in the late 70s.
That sucks.
And, you know, they talk about what is it? I always fuck it up. McNamara's idiots.
McNamara's idiots, yep.
Yeah, McNamara's idiots. Well, after the war, nobody wanted to join the military because of Vietnam. So they lowered the standards even more. And so he had the story where he was at Wainwright. It was the winter and stuff. And they had a chow call. So everybody went out to get chow. And so they're coming back. And that night they found a body. And what happened was this guy went out to get chow. And he came back to his barracks and the door was locked. So instead of trying the other door or something, he's waited there for somebody to open the door.
Yeah.
And it's Alaska in the winter. And he fucking froze to death waiting for someone to open the door because he didn't have enough brains to try to use another door.
McNamara's morons, not idiots. It's McNamara's morons. Yep,
yeah.
It flows better. But yeah, that's
78, 79. These things were not so uncommon.
Yeah, because they lowered the standards so much because nobody was joining after 75. Like nobody.
Exactly. You know, but you still have the guys that like the cadre from this in charge of those dudes. So it's like the same atmosphere, the same guys dealing with problems, the same everything, but just shittier cadets. You know, and it's just very interesting. It wasn't until the 80s. Grenada, where like, you know, military really started to be professional again.
Well, it wasn't like it. I don't think it. Mm-hmm. I don't actually think our military ever. This is my personal opinion. Don't fucking jump on me, people that are listening. I don't think we recovered after Vietnam. I think the U.S. military, because that was. Here's the thing. Here's why. That was the first war where there was a draft. Or I'm sorry, not the first war. The last war where there was a draft. Okay. But there was also the geopolitical and media attention on this where everybody was kind of like in the know. And then they finally went, oh, being in the military is not actually a good thing. It's not good. Fuck this. The military is just something that they're just going to send us to this war that we lost. And it's like, well, you know, we won the Second World War, you know, or so we think, whatever, short term. We won that. Korea was just completely forgotten about. Nobody gave a shit about that because everybody was in their fucking fantasy land of, life is so good. Well, it was life is so good. They're so distracted. Like they don't give a shit. Vietnam, it's all the people that didn't give a shit about Korea because they were kids going to fight this. They come back and they go, yeah, it's not what you think it is. Like, what are we doing there? Like, what the fuck? Combined with the media being almost immediate there. And so you had that. And I don't think the military has recovered from that. Even they tried with after like post 9/11, they tried and they succeeded for a bit, but I think it's even worse now because there's two big fucking, or three if you want to count Iraq and Afghanistan as separate, but I count them as the same. I count them as the GWAT, the Global War on Terror. There's two massive, really easy to identify fuck ups if you actually look at them, where the U.S. military was used for let's just say sketchy agendas. Like, why are we there? And it started in Vietnam, and there was this mentality of, well, we got to train because we might have another war like this again, and then we didn't, and then blah, blah, there's infighting. It's such a complex issue, and I just think that was like a really big blow. Like, that was this beginning of the end of like this, we can assemble fucking 4 million troops in a year, you know? I think that was the end of that because people are seeing through the bullshit. And this film, like to bring it really quick before you go, I just want to bring it back so I'm not just on a tirade, is this kind of shows the beginning of that mentality of this is fucking stupid. It's not worth it. We got to figure out a way to get the fuck, like, it's just dumb. Like, it's not what we think it is. We're here and we don't want to be here and blah, 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 except for a couple of people, but then they realize whatever. So I think that was a huge problem that started in the, we'll say the early 70s.
No, I agree. I feel like a pivotal point for the U.S. military's what it is today is 1965. Because, you know, before that, it was, like you said, like the military was like a respectable thing. Like, you know, I just read a really good memoir about American POWs in the Philippines in the Second World War. Half those guys joined the military because of the Depression or because of whatever reason. Like, that was a viable, good option at the time. You know, today you have some people that want to join the military to, like, you know, pay off loans or whatever, or very rarely a situation where they're escaping something. But, like, it's just not that. It's not what it was. It wasn't this, you know, organization where it's like, it's actually really beneficial to your life and it's going to be good. All you hear from vets is the fuck the green weenie, don't go in. You know, like, it's just, it's horrible. And it really did start to die in 65, 66, 67.
Yep.
Like we were talking about earlier, like there's two Vietnams, in my opinion. You get the guys in green fatigues, you know, pre-Hue, and then you get the guys post-Hue where it's like, get me the fuck out of here. Like, you know, and I'm going to do everything I can, just get the fuck out of here. So yeah, that's really where the mentality begins, and it has not gotten better. You know, things like 9/11 or whatever, it's patriotic, you know, I want to go fight for my country, but they're saying that this year is the first time that they're going to question all volunteer force because, you know, between obesity and everything else, there's so many little people that qualify to be in the military, and 3/4 of them don't want to join. So we really are at a point now where it's like, okay, there's no professionalism left. Nobody wants to do it. And it's very much like, I'd say at this point, by the mid 70s after Saigon, you know, because we're a year after the fall of Kabul. So it's basically 1976, you know, so it's a little later than this. You know, I feel like this movie was perfect for probably 14, 15, 16, a little after Eurowin, where it's like, really, this is stupid. This is 15 years of going over here for nothing. Mm-hmm. The surge and everything, Obama surge and shit, like, oh my God. But, no, it's very interesting, and it's a 50-year-old problem that's now really coming to fruition, you know? Because if you can't keep your numbers, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to lessen the military, or you're going to have selective service? I mean, what are your options? So if nobody wants to join, you either force them or whatever, you know? But it's very interesting. And to end this whole rant is, it also is funny that Dodge is ending their Challenger and Charger fucking things next year. That's the meme that's been circulating. They're like, oh, you know, nobody wants to join the Army because, you know, you can't buy a Charger for 25% APR off base anymore. So.
But yeah, anyway, to bring it back to the film, it's... Yeah,
I didn't see any car dealerships outside of Polk in this film. That was strange.
You just saw bars with scantily clad women. Right. A lot of fucking going on. A lot of fucking.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep. And
fucking.
Yeah.
That was great.
Of course. So yeah, I mean, like, I guess to get the overall like vibe.
50 Shades of Tigerland.
50. Oh, show you 49.
50 Shades of Olive Drab.
Yeah. But no, it's like to the overall like thing. I think we kind of nailed it. Is like it shows the beginning of the end of like the patriotic rah join the fucking military shit until post 9/11.
It's the FTA. Fuck the Army.
Yep.
Like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't want to be here, and I'm not going to be here for long. So, you know.
There's some people that want to be there, but it's not the numbers that there were in 65 that want to be there, you know?
Yeah. Well, even during the film, the guy's talking about going to Mexico.
Right.
And shit. And it's like, you know, there were guys that did. Think of all the Vietnam vets and stuff that, like, went to Canada. It's like, whoops, you know, bad decision.
They weren't Vietnam vets. They were...
Sorry. Well, there were some guys that like were halfway through basic. They just got busted.
Right. Yeah. No.
You know?
So they were. But, yeah. I say draft dodgers. I actually, the more I look upon that, I'm like, good for you. Like, good for you because you didn't fucking go because you thought it was fucking retarded, and you ended up being right, even though everybody else said you were wrong.
I agree. I just draw a line with the people that like revoke their citizenship, and you can do that.
Sure, and that,
but it's like that's stupid.
I have a problem with that you too. Know? It's weird, but But what do you? I mean, yeah. What do you do anyway? But that's addressed in the film. Yeah, so we can actually talk about that. But like, it's.
Well, yeah. There's a deserter in the film. or attempted. I mean,
I just
you know,
when everybody's like, you know, oh, this certain person, you know, this certain celebrity was a draft dodger. Fuck him. I'm like, so, like,
did did anybody in your unit like desert or leave when you got back or before or whatever?
no, we had a.
It's very rare.
We had a guy at the
Very
end of
rare.
our basic. He wasn't in my platoon, but he made it through the whole fucking thing. And then 2 days before we actually graduated, he went AWOL and they caught him, and then all that shit. I'm like, what? You couldn't just wait 3 fucking days?
There was my buddy was 2504. He was in Afghanistan 14, 15, came back in 15, end of the fighting season. And what do you call it? There was a guy in their unit that they got back to Bragg and he never came back from block leave. And
Yeah.
he's gone. And then like a year later, that somebody like found a porno of him, like, and he was apparently this huge gay porn star. Like he just got back from Afghanistan, took his BAH, and said, "Fuck it."
So
And,
who found the
just went
porn?
off
That's
the
what I would
rocker.
question.
Well, that was the funny thing. I was like, bro, like, so you're not you don't question the source,
Right.
You just question the the evidence. Like, okay, but
He's a rump ranger, and I found him through sources. It's like, well, the source obviously had to be the guy in the unit. Yeah.
What are your sources, sir?
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I don't know if you guys have been to Bragg, but All American Way is a fucked up place.
Oh yeah, that's
It's,
why. Yeah, I'm proud to be a nasty girl because I never had to go through that extreme of bullshit. But
I was never in, but I've had my stays at Bragg for like I could. Again, I can't, but it's like I've been to Sharkies. I've been around. Fucking. It's
yeah,
it's a place.
no desire to ever go to
It's a
Fayetteville.
place.
No desire.
Vietnam, as they say. So.
All right. So next, I only have 2 more technical things. They're not that bad. The one is when they're actually in Tigerland, and they're like, the one guy's like, I gotta take a piss, and he goes off with his machete into the woods as they're on a march. I'm like, no, that's not the way it fucking works. Like, I'm gonna take a piss. It's like, no, that's not gonna be allowed. A. B. Whip your cock out and piss. Just piss off the trail so nobody has to walk through it if you're courteous enough. If you're a real asshole, you whip it to the left and piss in the middle of the trail where everybody's walking. But yeah, that's not gonna fucking happen, especially in the infantry, like even in training. No.
Yeah.
The last one is you don't salute NCOs unless it's like a certain formation situation. And this was done several times through the film. Sometimes being a smartass, yes, but they would react and be like, "Don't fucking salute me, you fucking piece of shit," blah blah blah. But at the end, when he's like, he does that, get on the bus, and then the NCO salutes him back. I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen.
Then he gives him the middle finger.
Yeah, like you would just do this if you're like gonna salute an NCO that you didn't like. You would just immediately start with that.
Yeah.
And then whatever. But that's the only 2 technical things, or the last 2. So.
Interesting. Yeah, I find this movie to be a bit underrated, in my opinion. Not a lot of people know about it, so I highly recommend it. I think it's really, like I say, it's like the antithesis of most war movies that really try and, like, yes, it's hard and it's terrible and everything like that, but at the end, it's it's a good thing. This movie seemed very anti that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What I liked a lot about it, it seemed very like kind of, calling out a lot of the bullshit that comes in the military, and like I like the scene where that is during the live fire scene, and Boz is refusing to get up and everything like that, and the black dude comes up, and he's like screaming at him, and he says something like, "Mother, like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, son," or something, and he says, "Sergeant, you're not gonna kill me. Yeah. I don't know what you're gonna do, but you're not gonna kill me." It's like the whole thing about like they're always screaming how they're gonna rip your head off and stuff like that. It's like, no, you're not. I like that aspect of it, how it's just like calling that bullshit and everything.
Yeah, he'd probably get NJP'd or get like another Article 15, but they don't want him to do that because then he'll just go back and he'll stay out, like they said. But like, I mean, in real life, yeah, you'd just get NJP'd, but with him, they would. I don't know what the fuck they would.
What's NJP?
Non-judicial punishment. So it's like it's like anything below a court martial that you get.
Yeah. No, he's gonna get a GOMAR.
What's the
general order? Or something. It's when a general addresses you down, and you have to reply to it.
Oh, never heard of that.
General officer, something. I heard about it like a few weeks ago, but yeah,
some sort of military faggotry, but like, yeah,
yeah, it's when a 1 star or above calls you out and you have to like form.
Oh, dude, to do that you have to literally like kill somebody or do something horrendous.
Well, I just know about it because it's happening now with people that are like breaking articles for the new article. I don't know, it's Article 15 or what? No, not
one article.
The new dress code or whatever.
Oh, 670-1.
Some guys got like
yeah.
Some guys got a GOMER'd for fucking 670-1 violations like a few weeks ago, and it's all over US what the fuck page and stuff, and it's so stupid, you know.
Yeah, it's again. Whenever we talk about this kind of shit, I just post that meme of Merle Dixon from fucking Walking Dead drinking out of a fucking liquor bottle in his car surrounded by fucking zombies, and it just says, so fucking glad I'm out. Like,
yeah,
that's it, man. It's like, oh God. But yeah, I mean, the bullshit hasn't really changed much. I don't know, like, yeah, in this film, it's like, some of the guys want to be there, most of them don't. Another thing too is like the draft. It's not as prevalent as people would think, like during Vietnam, like for going to infantry and stuff. Like, yes, it did exist. Yes, there were a large number of people who were drafted. I get that. But like, when everybody thinks that everybody in Vietnam, or most of the people in Vietnam were drafted, most people fucking volunteered because they didn't want to just wait for the draft and whatever, or certain reasons.
It's the Second World War. I'm going to join so I don't get drafted.
Right.
You know?
And it's like, you know, I have the stats on there like somewhere. I made a video about this a while back on YouTube, but got a lot of kickback too from a lot of people that have never been in the military that know more than me about stats. And I'm like, name your sources. Well, I just know this. Well, that's not a source. I gave you sources. You can go look it up. But anyway, yeah, a lot of these guys in this film.
It's salty there.
What?
It's salty there.
It's like, dude, look at my source and you can argue my source to me. Don't argue your opinion. Like,
but Nate, you know, but Mike, you don't agree with me.
Call me Nate one more fucking time. I'm never doing this fucking podcast again.
Sorry, Nathan. Anyway, you know, it's just the way it goes.
Disappears.
Nathaniel Hawthorne.
It would be like fucking Top Gear. It's like, if you want to be a Scuttlebutt presenter, please send a letter to 6969 Cambridge Way, London.
Yes. Well, you should send a letter to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue if you want to become a reader for Scuttlebutt, because we're that well known and renowned, and they will definitely get you.
Address it to Kamala. She'll get in touch with us.
Yep.
You know.
Camel to Kamala Harris. Yeah, sorry. I just got my names mixed up for a bit. I was thinking about somebody else, I swear. But anyway, no, it's overall the film was like not terrible. I don't like it as much as you do, Mike. But
that's okay.
But yeah, it's just it's far from the fucking worst. We'll put it that way. I did like the lingo that the sergeants were using. Like they were just right out of the gate. They're like just swearing, just like,
yeah.
You know, there was a lot of like kind of hyperbolic shit. You know, like it just got repetitive. But like, it's funny because like in training, your NCOs come up with cuss words and the order of them to where it's so impressive and funny that you're like, I'm never gonna fucking forget that, you know?
Right,
like,
yeah.
It's amazing.
No, I've heard you use some of them.
Yeah, it's well, not all that came from basic training, but like it's impressive. Like, and they're like, get out of the fucking truck, you fucking piece of shit, get the fuck out of here. Like that's concurrent, and that's kind of the style that they used, you know, from 1971 through, I guess it was like 2010 to 2011 they stopped doing that. That's what I heard from people that I know that went through. And
do they not really swear anymore? That's one thing I've heard.
I don't know, but because I mean, people always like people that have gone through recently. They'll be like, "Oh, it was." Well, actually, no. I
when I went through basic with black boots, right? That was a real.
No, I stand corrected. I actually have had a lot of people that I know, younger people. I've seen them posting or talked to them. They said, "Yeah, basic and IT was easy," and I'm like, "Why? Like, how was it easy?" They're like, "Yeah, you just do what you're told, and then you just do your training and everything." I'm like, "They didn't scream at you and shit." Not that bad. Okay, yeah. So I got the very
back when you were in. Did they swear at you?
Oh, yeah. The first day where we're up there in the bay, they came around. They were like, "All right, so we've got this new memorandum that says we should limit our fucking swearing, right? So if any one of you fucking cocksuckers has a fucking problem with fucking swearing and you're going into the fucking infantry, raise your fucking hand right now." Nobody raised their hand. And they're like, "Good, because we're gonna fucking swear at you because that's how it fucking is." And it was like, okay, cool. And yeah, they definitely, I mean, just it was very foul, the language.
Okay.
But I was a potty mouth before that, so like it wasn't like a shock to me. There were some very
totally.
religious people that had a problem with that. Very religious
Fucking
people
morons.
that.
It's funny to me, very religious people who are in the military, because there are a lot. And
I know,
like,
and they're like, "Well, I want to serve my
Yeah.
country. It's God's duty, or it's my duty to God to serve my country." And I'm like, okay.
good for you, but like you know what the fuck you get involved with, you motherfucker. Like,
Good for you and your fantasy land. That's this is reality, motherfucker.
Right, and it was just like my squad leader was a very religious.
I fight
guy.
for God's real army. I'm the Roman army, you know. But
right.
yeah,
But yeah,
it's funny that it's culture shock for those people. You know?
it is because they're just like, do they have to swear so much? I'm like, what is the problem? Like, really, it's words.
Well,
gives a
see,
fuck?
it's great that you grew up in a cornfield the size of the Pacific Ocean. But here,
I didn't grow up
the
in
real world-
Iowa.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in Iowa.
I mean, for people in general, I'm not talking about cheese.
He's not
Bowl,
talking to
where live.
you.
Yeah,
Okay,
you know.
all right. Just wanted to make that abundantly fucking clear.
Don't worry,
you
cheese
clearly,
wheel. I'm not. There's a difference. There's a
Oh,
river.
clearly
there's a
thought
lot
he was
between the
talking
two.
You could try to make
Yeah,
fun
that's
of
funny.
Cheeseland, and until you have the cheese, fuck you. Like, no, I mean seriously, yeah. It's
So, do you think if they had Wisconsin cheese curds at Tigerland, do you think it would have been a better experience?
oh god, yeah, yep.
Yeah, you know.
Oh
So-
god, if you give those guys in AIT real fresh, at that time logistics were kind of a nightmare. But if you were to happen to overnight them in like refrigerated fucking semi trucks, and you got them cheese curds that were a day or two old, still fresh enough, I think it would be a lot better.
I remember reading about the 32nd Infantry Division men that were, in the premortal swamps of Buna and Gona on New Guinea, and that they were, sent fresh cheese curds, and that's how they were able to defeat the Japanese on New Guinea.
Yeah, I'm sure they were sent
know?
fresh cheese curds to New Guinea.
Yeah.
They were only 5 weeks old. Not a big deal.
Oh yeah,
A little bit of mold. Just
planes went fast back then.
as my
They're
grandma said,
probably green.
just cut the mold off. The cheese underneath is fine. That's what my grandma always
was the
said.
thing.
And she
Oh,
she
yeah.
was not wrong, to be honest. But like,
Well, it's like when you watch some like real old World War II movies, and like the guy gets a fruitcake with all moldy,
Just
and it's
cut it off
on
and-
the offside. Fuck it. So
that's like my
That's what
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead, Michael.
It's okay. I was just saying that they show that a lot in the Dust Boat as
Yeah,
time goes
yep.
on. It shows them cutting
Yeah.
mold out of the bread and everything like that.
oh, we got to do that movie.
That's
eventually.
a
love that
long
movie
one,
so
but yeah,
much.
it's actually pretty good. I actually loved
Yeah.
that one. It's
only war movie that has a techno song made out of the intro. Like,
Jesus,
Well,
fun fact.
literally.
Yeah.
That was
1980s
fucking.
Germany,
That was like actually on the pop charts that had nothing to do with the movie. Like fucking, it was its own success. Like it's just crazy. So.
Yeah, no, that one we
yeah,
could
moldy
definitely do
shit.
that. It's just when you because we've been doing a lot of like 1 to 2 hour films. That fucker is long.
Well,
It's
like
a long
we talked
haul,
about.
yeah.
We talked about doing the Thin Red Line, which is going to be
It's
worth
also
it, you know,
really
when-
long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not as good as Das Boat.
I'll do that I'll do it for Dave because I know it's going to be a really cool
Yeah,
conversation.
for sure.
Yep.
Like that'll be fun. But like,
But Dasput, I'll enjoy it. Yeah.
yeah, Das Boot is
The pissing on the car. Oh, this is a Vietnam movie. We won't talk about it, but Dasput's amazing.
I love it. Yeah, I love it so much.
Yep.
I am not in the condition to fuck.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
just
my
so
god.
good.
Have you ever seen the 6-hour episodic version?
No, I've seen the director's cut though, which
I mean,
is
the
like
director's
the
cut's
longest. Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's like
they,
5 hours, but
they
I
did
know,
make
I know
a-
it was a TV show originally.
Right, it was a
So-
TV show. That's what I'm talking about. Like the actual
Mhm.
episodic one has a lot more stuff in it. It's really interesting. So yeah, I recommend. Yeah, I recommend every version of it. I think the whole thing is interesting from head to toe. But yeah, good ass movie. But getting back to Tigerland.
Yeah. We
Bring it back now, y'all.
derailed this fucker
Yeah.
for 15 minutes.
Good actors, in
Yes.
my opinion, throughout the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought
Amazing.
the cast was solid. Yeah, everyone was great in it. And this is like when a lot of them were just nobodies, you know?
It's kind of like Band of Brothers. Think of all the really good talent from that
Yeah, that
show
came
that
out of
like
that.
went places and everything. You know, I was shocked because I was like, holy fuck, that guy's
Right.
going to be huge in 5 years. That guy's
Yeah.
going to be huge in 10 years. Like,
Well,
you know,
also-
and it's just
Yeah, we should also give a shout out to Joel Schumacher because this is the man who brought us Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. and you watch this, and it's completely different.
My favorite film of his, though, was Falling Down.
Falling Down is
Falling
amazing.
Down is
So
yes.
he
fucking
did
great.
that. Yeah.
Yes. He also so his movies that he's most known for are Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Falling Down, and then probably Lost Boys, the number 23. And then he did this. Yeah. This is one of his more unknown.
I'm
ones.
surprised. Yeah. Well, Falling Down is fucking. It's not a war movie, but like that is a. It's
Daddy
That's a
builds
doozy.
missiles to protect from the Russians.
well, okay. So another actor that was in here is Shea Wingham, right, or Wigham.
Yeah, from Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, and he did such a good job in here, and like he portrays like himself, his character. Like you can see the similarities and everything, but he's totally different than he is in Boardwalk Empire. He like plays a totally different character, and that was only like that was 10 years later. But like he looks, I don't know. He did a really good job, and he played a fucking guy that's already lost it, but he's like losing his shit even more, challenging constantly, and like thinks he's better, and then it's just
Oh yeah, he's a total. I mean, yeah, like right from the very first scene, he's got his mind made up that he hates, Colin Farrell's character.
Oh
and,
yep.
And he's just, I think really he kind of represents, because there's a lot of characters in this that are very like anti-war, like Boz and remember the black guys and everything like that. He's one of the guys who's supposed to really represent the like those psychotic serial killer fucks who go into the military, And,
and they thrive.
I think that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
but this guy, unfortunately, he doesn't thrive though. I mean, he's not really, he's not like good. He's kind of a fucking fuck up.
Yeah, he's kind of a
so.
dipshit, over promising, under delivering.
Right.
But
good character, and great performance from him. He's an underrated
dude,
actor.
all the actors I think did a really good job. There wasn't one scene where I can remember where I was like, that's shitty acting, like that's forced, or that's just not good. It's like, no, everybody, no matter how big or small the role was good. And that actually does a lot for me for a film. Like it can have a shitty plot. The writing can be shit. The directing can be okay. The technical shit. As long as the acting is superb and like really good, that makes up for so much shit.
Oh yeah, great actors can make or break a movie. Like great actors can make the movie, and there could be movies where it's like this is a solid script, but the actors were so miscast that they just fuck it,
Right,
and,
or you get like one or
happens a
two
lot.
good actors, and the rest of them are all wooden.
Yeah,
it's like
and it
fuck.
just,
Well,
like,
you just
fucks
fuck
it,
those actors over. Like it just.
Hey, look, it's an oak tree. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and they're it's like if an actor is just wooden, like you can tell pretty quick. People in general, it doesn't matter if you have a film background, as long as you can appreciate films and you've seen them, you can tell when an actor is wooden and just not good, and they just weren't in there mentally. I did not see that on anybody in this particular film.
No, one guy that I thought I really like a lot in this movie is the guy who's put in charge of the company or whatever it is first.
The guy from Louisiana. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name, but I've seen that actor in only like a couple other things. But I thought he was great. I loved his character.
Miter.
He's like
Miter. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's like really trying to prove his manhood and everything like that. And he is just not meant for this.
No. He's just like, you should not be here, man. Like you. Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking insane. And so I love the character development of that too, because he gets pissed off and he starts to fight for it, but it's like, what are you fighting for, man? Like, what are you doing? So
yeah, I love that.
Yep.
He's like, you better soldier up, boy, and it's just like you're plastic, dude. Like you don't got it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a great. I think the actors and all this really carried a lot of it. I can understand like some of the criticism what you guys have said, but solid ass cast the whole way through.
Yeah.
For me, if it was cast any less, it would be total dog shit.
Yep.
Like I really feel like it'd be bad. But and the writing is good too. I have to give them that. This is a very challenging subject. Vietnam War training film, because any Vietnam War subject, you have so much of it. You're so much under a stigma of a magnifying glass that you have to be very careful. So I really give it to him for that. But I was blown away. And it's funny to watch this 20 years later because they're all huge stars. I mean, watching this 20 years ago, I'd be like, wow, these guys know what they're fucking doing.
Right.
Like, so it's really funny because I was just like, fuck. It was very cool to see that. So No, they definitely carried it.
Yeah, the writing was, I'd give it about an 80%, which is not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad, but it could have been better. It could have been a hell of a lot worse. And then that combined with
My name's the Pusher. Oh yeah.
Please don't. Please don't.
so that combined
I'm sorry, Michael.
with the good acting, the superb acting, I think actually that's what saved it. So, you know that.
Oh yeah.
That's so yeah. It's not that shitty.
Yeah.
It's a little shitty, but it's not that shitty.
I also love the we're talking about how we wanted to make our movie look. I love the look of this movie where it really looks like those training films that you see from the time period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the cinematography was perfect. It looks so like raw and good shit. It looked like it was shot with like a news camera or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool, and it's that neat time too, because like you look at the newsreels from Vietnam and stuff, and they have that like almost like a Kodachrome thing. And
yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, it's less vibrant than it was earlier on, but it's very cool to see that because it really makes everything pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more real, but it's not as HD as we have it now.
Exactly.
The colors don't pop as much, but they also are just kind of it's a weird kind of trend. Again, it's transforming the old world to what we have now. I think this whole era, and the training actually shows that, because if you saw training from like World War II, it wasn't this like psychotic screaming and yelling and throwing people down in the mud and fucking whatever.
Depending on the branch.
The Army, it wasn't. From what I know, it was not like that.
I agree.
So,
yep.
And but then you go to Vietnam, even Korea, it got a little bit crazy because you had World War II vets. Again, noticing a pattern here, where it's so close, where it's like you've got guys that are, because the First World War lasted for us a year and a half, right? And so you didn't have the guys going through training that had these vets coming back, training them, right?
Most of those guys were all officers in the U.S. Army by the time the Second World War rolled around. You know, it had been 22 years.
They were like 40 something,
right?
At that
And
point.
And what's funny though on that point though, you don't really have that type of drag down, beat up style of boot camp in the Army, but in the Marine Corps it's a totally different story,
right?
And it really stems from you have veterans of the Banana Wars,
right,
and all these things, and you have very recent combat vets who's like, you don't want to fucking die, I'll tell you not to fucking die, So it's like this very interesting culture, and it directly stems from that experience. What does the Army have between 1919 and 1941? Nothing.
They've got a couple little tiny things, but like it's nothing big.
But again, you sub 1,000 guys that were involved in combat.
Yeah, exactly.
In 22 years. That's
but in Vietnam it lasted fucking.
Well, yeah.
Really like.
But like you said, in Korea you have over 2 vets. In Vietnam you have Korean vets, and then Vietnam,
early Vietnam you get the Korean vets, and then you get the new.
And now you
brand.
have GWAT vets.
Yep, and then they come back, they rotate out, and they're like, "Hey, if you're a drill sergeant for a year, you can get out early on your enlistment." Okay, fine, fuck it, I'll do it. I want out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then they go
FTA.
Yep, and they become drill sergeants, and they fucking that's not every case, of course. I'm just talking like from people that I've heard say that. And
generalization.
And whatever. And then some guys became drill sergeants and then went back to Vietnam because they re-enlisted, which is, I guess it's on their own volition, but like you get these.
Some guys did like 4 or 5 tours.
Right. And it's like,
just like now.
But you get these guys that are fresh. And they're like, I know where the fuck you're going. I've been there, and I'm going to fucking make your life hell so you don't die over there. And
you wet behind the ears, kid.
Right. Fucking, and that's what we had in 2008 is we had all these guys from Iraq and Afghanistan.
I was at Ramadi, you piece of shit. Fucking, you want to learn?
Yeah, we had guys that were in the invasion and then went back, and then they were at Ramadi, and there was guys who were in Afghanistan. They were where the fuck was that one guy? He got shot in the Kevlar through the Humvee windshield. I can't remember, but anyway, but yeah, all these guys, like we had in our entire company, which each platoon had 3 drill sergeants, 2 at the end because the reservists stopped cycling through. We had 2 drill sergeants that did not have combat patches out of 2, 4, 6, 8, pretty much like the whole time 20.
Yeah,
we had 2.
And you're just one class.
Yeah,
in an army of how many?
16 weeks. Yep, and it's like those guys were fucking really tough, and it was insane. But here's the thing: is when we got to our units, it was that much easier because it was like, okay, we already get this. Like they already trained us for how it actually is. Because most people that, you know, by the time we all got to our units, like I was National Guard, but like all the active duty guys that I keep in touch with, they got to their units and they were like, we've been deployed before. We're getting deployed in like a month. So here's how it's going to be. And because of the training we had from these guys, and it was so hard, it was less difficult to assimilate. And that's kind of what I think the attitude in Tigerland was these guys are like, well, we know you're probably going to Vietnam as an infantryman. There's a good chance you're going there as an infantryman. So we're going to fucking make it really difficult on you. So when you get to your unit, they'll be like, okay, we have less of the basic shit to do. We can get you more intricately trained on what actually goes on here so you can probably survive. And that was portrayed, that's why I say the psychoticness of it. That was portrayed pretty well. And it's not unrealistic at all because that's just how people do things in times of war. And it'll be interesting to see once GWAT's over, well, it is as a whole, it's like, do we wait 20 years and then have an entire new military trying to train? And
well, I mean, I don't want to get into geopolitics, but the war is either going to happen in, you know, Eastern Europe, Southeastern Europe, or it's going to happen in the South China Sea.
Yep.
It's just it depends how long it's going to take.
Well, hopefully it never
So,
fucking
you
happens,
know-
which would be nice.
Oh, hopefully it never happens. But
Yeah.
again, just reading history.
No, I get it,
and
but it's like,
events,
yeah. So
yeah.
defining like training and stuff, it's like, that's why I think this film's trying to get that across is like, you know, at the end, we now know it's the end of the war. They didn't back then. They were like, well, we're drawing down, but it's not the end. We're losing, but it's not the end. You're going there. So here's how to
But
survive.
it's not the end.
Right. Well, yeah.
Well, it's funny because I knew a few late Vietnam vets, and there was one guy I met randomly at like a show. He was an Air Force guard, and his job was to guard this radar station that was it was an I Corps, northern Vietnam, or southern Vietnam, you know,
Yes.
very close to the
Yep,
border. And they were the station where the Arclight B-52s would fly in from Guam, and they would hit that station, and then they would turn north, and they would go to Hanoi.
Yeah.
So it was like it was an important weather station, you know, that on the track of bombing. He was there for a whole year. Crickets. Nothing.
Right.
Nada. He gets replaced. 2 months later, the whole base is wiped out by an enemy attack in 1972.
Yep.
So, like, you know, it's just funny how, like, this shit just kind of happens but doesn't, and it's so late in the war, you know? So it's
Right.
like, the war's over, but you might go. The war's over, but you got to be tough. And then, because these things still did happen. There's a crazy story from the Easter Offensive in 74 where, like, one Marine advisor blew up the key bridge at Quai Trang and fucking stopped an NV armor column. You know, it's like,
Right.
this is a year after the last combat troops.
Right.
left
Right.
Vietnam.
Quote. Yeah. I should have
So,
said that with
like-
heavy quotes implied in 73 that
Yeah,
everybody left.
you
But
know.
like, yeah, it's
Post-Vietnamization and stuff. But
Yep.
it's the war's over, but you're probably going over there and you need these skills. And I don't give a shit what you think or feel or whatever, you fucking hippie. This is what got me through this, so I'm going to be tough on you, so it's going to get you through.
Yep. And if you're not going to comply with me, it's going to get worse. So,
No fucking. What are they going to do? Send me to Vietnam?
yeah, exactly.
You know, like, yeah.
Nope.
So,
So,
well, I think we've really, you know, beaten everything up for this.
Yeah.
Is it time to move on to closing statements?
I'm good with that.
Cool. So, Ackerman, what do you
Yes.
think?
Like I say, I like this movie a lot. I think it is very much a the antithesis of all of these kind of training cliches and stuff like that, and all these kind of archetypes that you see in movies with drill sergeants and whatnot. I think it really makes the military look not fun, which I like, and it's pretty honest about that in terms of what I don't know about in terms of like accuracy. I know we talked about there's some stuff in it that's a little messed up, but felt very candid to me, and the actors all made it really believable. So very unique war movie. So yeah, I recommend this one. I would probably give it an 8 out of 10.
Mr. Birch.
Yeah, it's it tackles a subject that's not really talked about at all, because again, like we were talking about, there's 1,000 movies about the Vietnam War. Like, Way City, fucking Tet Offensive, fucking
Oversaturated as fuck.
My
Yeah.
Lai, you know, all that shit. You know, there's a bunch of shit, you know, the Ashaw Valley, all that stuff. And it's like, okay, well, what about them going there? And it usually just glosses over their training and then just goes right into Vietnam. And the training usually is really fucking just not good, like Mike said. So this one, for actually showing like the training that they would go through in a real place where they had infantry AIT and they would train people for Vietnam that were going there soon, it's like, it's pretty fucking cool that somebody actually did the research and put in the time and the effort to make this film, because as we know, making a film's not an easy feat. And it's like, so
What do you mean? I'll call my friends and, you know, we'll all head down to the park and we'll make a movie.
That is an abridged
easy,
version of what happens, but yes, that is accurate.
Anyway, so like somebody spent that much time and effort, you know, to do this, and all the actors were in it, which is good. As far as like the technical shit, there was some things that just drove me fucking nuts, but it was like whatever. But they, like I said, 4th Army insignia, like that's who was training guys at Fort Polk during Vietnam, and they did the research and they got that, and it was fucking cool. The writing again was 80% in my opinion, which is not terrible, but it's whatever. Acting was good. I'm gonna give this a. Let's flip a coin. I'll do a 6 out of 10. It's like a 6.5, but I don't want to make it too complicated. It's like a 6.5.
Don't give me fractions, you son of a bitch.
Right. No, I know your little New England fucking brain can't comprehend fractions. That's why I just evened it off. I trimmed.
The mouse wheel got stuck.
Yeah, the gears grinding. Fucking nasty little skull.
It's all that inferior Vermont cheese getting stuck in the wheel.
Well, now you're getting it. But no, so I'd say 6 out of 10 because it kind of felt like somebody wrote it who did research but not quite enough, and the technical shit was just, you know, that's whatever. But also I'm very difficult on grading films, as we know, so I'm pretty harsh on that. So 6 is not terrible. It's above a fucking 1.
Oh. Yeah.
Yes.
That's usually what you give most of them. So yeah.
No, 6 out of 10 solid. So, and Brian.
Not midway. So this, taking all these points in consideration, this is a very interesting film. You know, they're trying to juggle a lot here, and you know they get a lot right, they get a lot. I mean, I could really sum this movie up as, you know, one smartass's fight against the system. That's really what I saw in this. And, you know, just to reiterate what I said earlier, it's like somebody wanted to make a movie about Vietnam, but not about Vietnam. You know, it's like they wanted the set dressings and everything, but they didn't actually want to show the horror of the war, which works in a way for this, but
that's not what it's about.
What?
It's not about the carnage and the combat and all that.
Yeah. It's about the training and stuff, which again, is just a hard thing to dial in on and get right. And again, I like parts of it and other parts of it where it's like, well, this is kind of for the birds. But that being said, I mean, I'd give this a 4 out of 10. I would recommend it. I think it's one of the best training films out there, you know? And it's funny, looking to do research for this, I was like, there's a fucking file of 57 military-related training films on IMDb. Half of them I hadn't heard of before, but it's like, holy shit. It's amazing how in peacetime people make movies about training films and training in the army and stuff and everything, you know? And
I'm more than certain those are a lot of the movies that you know, the military likes to back up, you know, when it comes.
Well, yeah, there were some very interesting ones because again, there's one from the 50s where it's like Marine drill sergeant thinks his recruit's a pussy, so he makes him not a pussy, and it's like, okay, that's the 50s, you know, and stuff, and but it's very interesting. So this is a very, like, you know, saturated market, like training films and stuff and things. So I got to commend them for what they've done and the effort they put into it. And I do recommend you watch it. But I feel like if you're going to watch a film about like training and the bullshit of the military, watch Jarhead. It gets all these points, but it does a lot better in my opinion.
See, that's funny because
this is.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, dude. I'm shitting on your review.
No
Go ahead.
No, it's that's just, you know, how I feel. And again, it's worth a watch. Totally watch it. Take your own opinion away from it. I mean, you know, it's a really cool side of the Vietnam story that you don't get to see, and it's definitely worth investigating. So But what do you? So do you like Jarhead, Michael, or?
Not really. That's one that I'm kind of like on. I kind of felt like I got hit with I got a little pretentious waves from that one, but I haven't seen it in a long time also, so it's probably I probably need to see it again.
It's amazing how, again, we're special and lucky, whatever, because we get to make films. I wake up every day. I'm so glad we can do that.
Yeah.
But even without that, just life experience and that things too. Like, it's just amazing how you can watch one film at one part of your life and watch it again 5-10 years later and be like, wow, better or worse. It's crazy how our perceptions change of things. So it's definitely good to get into it, rewatch it again, and see if you like it or not. So maybe I'll like it less. So.
I haven't. Who knows? Yeah, I haven't seen it since high school, but I remember, like, for me anyway, it kind of felt like it was being a little bit. It was just like really elevated. It seemed to me in a lot of ways, and
it was hyped up a lot. That's the thing, is I think it was hyped up. I think we should definitely cover that in the future Scuttlebutt.
I'd love to have a Desert Storm vet on or something.
Yeah, I can.
If you're a Desert Storm vet and want to talk about
a Marine Corps Desert Storm vet, because like I know an Army Desert Storm vet who would gladly come on and give him some heads up, but like he didn't go through the Marine Corps training and all that shit. So I'll try and look around. And unfortunately, the only Marine that I know who went through at that time period was after.
Funny when you say look around, like under the boxes.
Well, no, like through my friends list and through who I know, but like The only Marine that I know that was around that time period got in right after Desert Storm, and he was in Somalia. So,
I have some friends that went there too.
Yeah, and it was,
people don't realize the Marines were there, or the 10th Mountain Division.
Yeah, they were there before Black Hawk Down happened. Like, they were there for a pretty decent amount of time. And and this guy that I know, he went through that. So maybe for future things we can get him on for some movies about that time period. But I don't know. So yeah, if you're a Marine Desert Storm veteran, Desert Storm era is a different thing. So just want to clarify that. If you were like actually in Desert Shield and Desert Storm as a U.S. Marine, comment, get in contact with us if you want.
We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, and if you want to be on to review Jarhead, that would be cool. So.
And to get your opinion about this, to start off, because this is our first training film.
Yeah.
And again, comparing it to the other training Vietnam War film, Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, this is
it's a lot better. Yeah. It's way, way, way better than the first half of Full Metal Jacket.
First half of Full Metal Jacket does not get a 6 from me. Just throwing that out there.
We're getting a panel of Marines to destroy that film, so I can't wait to do that later this year.
I have not liked. I've had strong opinions about that movie since I saw it way back in freshman year of high school.
Yep.
I've always considered that one to be like so overrated, but I will save my thoughts for.
Yes, we should save our thoughts because that'll be a fun one. That'll be real fun.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So
I got a bone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all.
MICKEYMOUSE.
Shut your
fuck you.
Shut your fucking cock holster. Yeah.
And on that bombshell, thanks again for joining us, and see you next week.
Cool.
Bye.
Fuck you, Nate. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our Patreon. All these links are in the description below. Until the next time, Scuttlebutt out.